Recording here on Newkirk Precinct in the bottom left-hand side. Our red Zerg player, one game up. He is Dark.
Playing as the blue protoss, it is Splice Gaming Stats.
This Overlord, it wants to come in a little bit deeper. Looks like he's committed to the sacrifice, but he's not going in the right direction. Does change angle, spots the Robo, spots the DT Shrine. Good scouting for Dark. Of course, this is something the Zerg player almost always does recognize, and it's still a very solid build for stats. And now getting ready for the Archon drop follow-up.
Yeah, which, I mean, when you have this many roaches, shouldn't be that much of a danger. Usually, you'd want to have maybe a couple more. He only actually leaves 3 towards the main base here, those Dark, because he didn't know where the Archons were going to go. So if he targets on some of these drones here, Stats might be able to get some of those.
One drone does go down. Dark with a great pullback on those wounded roaches. Does deny most of the damage. So far, the response from Dark has been as close to perfect as you could hope for. And he's, interestingly enough, going for roach speed very quickly, along with a +1 upgrade. So I really love the power of Roach Hydra timing attacks, or even Mass Roach Ravager attacks in this current, sort of meta that we're seeing from a lot of Korean players. But Stats, he's got Immortals on the way behind this.
Yeah. He's
got Sentries, he's got a Forge down. Looks like he's going to be playing a very solid game back at home.
Stats is the one that needs to play defensively. A lot of drones were cut for this. 57 drones to 61 probes right now. You don't need any more workers, Stats. You need units to make sure that you survive. And Dark, it feels like he's committed to this, but he's still going to go into some sort of Baneling nest, maybe for some Baneling drops.
Ooh, snipe down the Observer with a Corrosive Bile. Stats not looking there. Dark with a cheeky maneuver shuts down some of Stats' vision on the map. Interestingly, Dark, he really committed to a huge amount of army there. He was hoping to surprise Stats, crush his army on the map, and then just win the game. So he actually cut a lot of workers out, but he's only re-droned now quite a bit later on. And now Stats even going to do a little bit of damage in the mineral line. I feel like these openings have gone so well for Stats now. He has just had such an efficient build-up.
Yeah, this is so annoying here for Dark to have to deal with. He has to pull back drones. He loses 3 of them. Stats going to evacuate before losing anything, other than those few Zealots that I don't think he really minds losing too much. Yeah, the Ravager count is actually pretty impressive. It's 15, but listen to this. We've got 7 Immortals and soon to be 9. And in this kind of composition here, when you're facing this many Banelings, as soon as Storm completes, you take a huge advantage. We saw Harstem with some great micro in one of his earlier game against Sort of, just killing basically everything that was being thrown at him quite convincingly. I think that was on this map as well. But this time around, I'm not sure Storm's going to be ready. Probably not. So he's going to have to rely mostly on the force fields here.
Dark constantly forcing APM out of Stats by just throwing those corrosive piles, trying to hit the War Prism. It is time. Dark wants to hit. He wants to hit now. Bane speed is done. He's not giving time for Storm to finish. The force fields are good, but will they be enough? Dark charges into the Protoss army. Corrosive bile landing all over everything. The Storm is still not finished. Those High Templar in the back are worthless right now. The overcharge going down, but the Immortals are falling very rapidly. It's just Ravagers versus Immortals and Archons right now. Charizard's reinforcing, joining the fray, and it looks like Stats has just barely managed to hang on.
It looked very worrying for a second. A couple Zealots sneak across the map thanks to the War Prism. And actually, he lost a lot of Immortal here. Just before we checked out the left-hand side of the map, I think a bunch of Corrosive Bile were about to land on like 3 or 4 of those Immortals. Stats, all of a sudden, down to one last single Immortal. He's got 2 more about to come out, sure, but Dark, with the amount of hatcheries that he has, not missing a single inject, he's just going to make a ton of units and keep on going for this. It's harder for Protoss to replenish their important units there. The army counts 71 for Dark, 63 for Stats, who now he's about to have a couple Storms to walk with here on his 3 High Templars.
Dark is securing a 5th base behind this, but he wants to keep on hitting the Protoss. He doesn't want to just let him mine. He wants to keep trading before the Protoss has time to build up lots of Storm energy, before he has time to build up another wall of Immortals.
Yeah, Zealots across the map still doing some damage. Forced an evacuation of one of those bases. Dark must be getting a little bit desperate. 4th base already up here for Stats, who's gonna Storm on top of this army here.
Oh, those Banelings on the top, not doing a lot, crashing into Immortals and Archons, but the High Templar, Banelings get on the High Templar, force them to morph into Archons. There's Zerglings in the mineral line. Probes are starting to fall. It looks like Dark might have done it. He's breaking his way through, but no, more and more Immortals and Archons rallying in. The Charge Lots get on top of these Ravages, and Dark cannot lose those Ravages. They are so expensive.
Some Zealots catch this new base of Dark that's being made here across the map, and he's on the chase right now. He might try to go just simply for the fight. No, realizes that there probably is too much here from Dark already. So Stats gonna pull back and start working on replenishing his army count, especially with these Immortals here.
Stats.
+1 air weapon actually starts with his target, so already transitioning.
Stats' next challenge here is to take a 5th base. How will he secure that against Dark, whose creep is past the halfway point on the map, whose army is roaming all over the map? These charge lot counterattacks, they're trying to clear up portions of the map. This is a nice one, cleaning up these Zerglings that were working on his back rocks. Stats vying for a little bit of that map control, and he has dropped that 5th base, but now he is much more spread out. The next time Dark pushes into him, he's gonna have to meet that army in the middle of the map. And he may begin a Broodlord transition, but Stats so prepared for the late game. Already is going up to 3 starports and a fleet beacon. He's looking around the map, trying to maybe clear up a bit of creep, slow down Dark's map control. But both players settling into this late game. The next big engagement is going to be very decisive. Both players not wanting to throw this game away. They want to find that correct engagement.
I mean, against 58 Banelings, it's very discouraging to step on creep, as it is for Dark to step off creep. They might meet each other halfway here, though.
The only thing I feel that Dark really still has in his advantage at this point is the map control, the creep spread. However, he hasn't been able to turn that into an advantage, but hold that thought. Ravages and Lings wrapping around the defense on the north, grabs a few Zealots for free, but does have to pull back.
Dark being so patient here with his army. A lot of Zerg that felt like their army is gonna start expiring or be less as good momentarily and would have overextended.
One Immortal will go down there.
He steps on creep for just 1 second, and that's Dark skew to sending a couple Banelings. That was the exact right amount as well, I think, to sacrifice. He still has quite a few left over that if he gets attacked, he's actually gonna be safe. And obviously he wants to reach Broodlords. Keep on creep spreading. Creep spread is such a danger there. It gives so much vision and speed to the Zerg army. You can also...
Banelings coming in on this 5th base at the same time. Storm does shut all of those down. Stats on top of the pro pool. Kills about 10 Banelings there for free. But look at this, Dark! He's preparing masses of Ling drops in the south. He knows that in a front-on engagement where all of Stats' focus is right there, he will not win. But if he can pull Stats apart, if he can drop these Zerglings and shred the production in the main, he might find an opening.
Yeah, those are 3-2 Lings that we're talking about with Adrenal Glands, and Stats is completely out of position. He might just recall here, I think, against this, because otherwise he's gonna lose his entire main very quickly. And remember, that's where his targets in the fleet beacon are.
Oh, this is perfect timing, Todd. Right as he pushes onto creep, if he recalls, his bases in the middle are gonna be very exposed. How does he handle this?
I think he's gonna just try and warp in Zealots. Like, they've got good upgrades now, but the main base still taking a ton of damage. This might make Stacks desperate and move forward a little bit too far.
His army is picking away at the Corruptors. He's got that Revelation down. The Broodlords are still dangerous here. His Mothership core is nice, but Stats' army getting into disarray. Dark pounces on the opportunity. Banelings, Ravagers, Corruptors, and Broodlords all engaging at once. The Tempests are falling. Oh my gosh, the Corrosive Bile is massive. Lands all over those Tempests. Both armies tearing each other apart. But at the end of the day, it looks like Dark survives. He pushes back Stats' army, and his main base is in shambles. Dark somehow makes it happen in the late game once again.
Yeah, he's still traded a lot though, and has a better bank behind this. So even though Dark is ahead in supply right now, and most of his units also kind of survived, like the important ones, the Broodlords in particular.
Stats coming in here with a nice little drop, but there's plenty of Spine Crawlers and Spores all over the place. He's pushing in the middle, these Stalkers, Archons, Immortals, and High Templar starting to push in. Archons on the south, going to clean up quite a few Zerglings before they do go down, trying to focus as many units as he can, but Stats here now swaps into Void Rays. Okay, This is a little bit interesting because he doesn't really have that much supply. A few Void Rays will do well versus the Corruptors, but since he's not really fighting an air battle anyway, I'm not really sure what his decision is here. He's going to have to somehow make this work with Stalkers against an Ultralist, Baneling, Broodlord, and Corruptor army. Dark pushing in. He wants to edge his way forwards.
Nice snipe here, blinking forward, sniping one of the Bulldogs. Even if some Stalkers die, he can replace them quickly.
This is a big attack from Dark. Rolling over the top, the Corruptors snipe down the Mothership and the Tempest, but all of the Ultralisks go down. Those Broodlords trying to get out of dodge. The Archon's in hot pursuit, and a massive Stalker warp in, closing on from behind. Banelings come in from reserve. They start to do some damage to the Stalkers, but most of them are still standing. They do have another blink ready, but he knows the reinforcements are out for Dark. He can't chase any further. Dark preserves the Broodlords.
Yeah, Dark is still being a little bit timid here towards that south base, but at the top he's doing fantastic, already killing 10 probes. That Immortal are going to go down as well. And even though, like you say, DTs are going to clean up eventually, losing this many probes is always going to be bad.
Stats could use that to his favor a little bit, in that he can replenish with army units and have a stronger max, but
you want to have the bank first. We saw a couple of split map situations where players didn't have the bank yet, and huge fungal is going to land on top of this air army.
Double fungal all over that army. Corruptors grab a couple of snipes, but Dark doesn't have the anti-air numbers to follow through. The Broodlords, though, sniping out this base on the south. They take the Nexus down.
It's a big problem. There is only one single observer out, and it's at the top side of the map, doing nothing, not helping this air army being protected and detecting against these burrowed infestors there.
Oh, Zerglings everywhere for Dark. He's shredding Stats' economy right now. Stats, he's managed to clean up a lot of army units, but the important Broodlords have survived. Dark, he's not maxed out anymore. He's chewed through his gas bank. But look at Stats. His economy is in tatters. His income is way down. Now Dark can afford to pull back, rebuild a little bit, knowing that he's handicapped Stats' ability to rebuild. Lords and Corruptors and Vipers just veering around this map. They are looking for an avenue to make this work. Both players playing some of the most patient StarCraft we've seen in a long time. This is not your average Zerg versus Protoss, but both of these guys, the absolute top of their respective races, are showing an entirely new way of playing this game.
Dark side of the map is almost mined out. Like, you look at his bank right now, he's not going to get much more minerals than that. Remember, one of the most important stats in a split map situation is going to be the resources lost, and actually pretty equal. I think Stats is a little bit ahead. He's killed a little bit more on that. So unless the opponent comes and mines on your side of the map, and that really never happens, only in my games, then that stat is still going to be very important. And right now, our Protoss player is doing better with that. He has to secure that base, and I think Dark knows that he has to be the one that makes something happen right now, and that's what he's doing right there. He needs to bring the spores, though.
Yeah, it's a couple of Broodlords going north. They see a whole army of Stalkers and Archons. I think Dark's going to go for a push on that north side. He's going to try and trap those units, using the Broodlords to bait them in. Lings, Banes, and Ultras coming in at the same time, trying to take the engagement. Good Archon hits. Great blink back from Stats, though. Going to disengage until he can regenerate those shields. Once again, efficiency, just the forte of Stats here.
He's widening the gap. 50,000 resources lost to almost 45 now. 5,000 difference.
And the income is just running out for Dark. These bases, look at this. There's only about 8 mineral patches left on his side of the map. His gases are going to go for a while longer, but his minerals are down in the dumps. This is effectively Dark's last big army, which he has to make something happen with. And since we see Stats there with an equal work account, 158 army supply, cannon storms, as well as the Mapak Revolution.
They have the exact same supply in Walkers and Army, actually.
That's actually insane. The Revelation here, Stats can see everything from a mile away because he just keeps tagging these units.
Stats is missing a huge chunk of army across the map. He has to recall out of there, otherwise it's going to be a disaster, potentially.
The storms! Storms all over the Zerg! He does recall after shredding away a lot of those Corruptors.
A huge chunk of army from Stats was missing, and across the map, killing one of those bases of Dark right now. Looking to try and counter-attack. I think he was just trying to buy some time, and I think that's going to force Dark back to try and clean that up. But he might lose his one base, where he has still quite a few minerals here at the top in the meantime.
Dark knows he needs more money. He's going to start mining from Stats' side of the map. It's not just your ladder games, Todd. Even here are the best players in the world. We're going to see him try to take that base. Stats, he's going to start edging forward. He wants to push back that creep. He senses that he's strong right now. He knows he can start to bully Dark out of the center of the map. but he has to stop this expansion going up. I think if Dark takes that, he actually does buy himself more time. He allows himself to be quite passive for a while. So, I mean, the longer he can drag this out and not be forced into taking a bad engagement into the Protoss, the better it is for Dark.
The Spellcasters in each player's army are going to be the key here to winning this game. We've got 8 pretty close to full energy Eye Templars against 3 Infestors and 3 Vipers. These fungal and parasitic bomb he's gonna have to make them count. I don't think that Abducts achieve that much unless you can catch the mothership and get rid of that.
Tempest's coming in here, a big Protoss army. I do love that single carrier in the mix, because why not? It is one of the highest damage output games in the output units in the game. Ultra's starting to counterattack though. This game's getting very weird very quickly. Zergling's gonna hit that northern base at the same time. Are we gonna go into some sort of weird base trade? I don't know, there's a lot of cannons still on Stat's side of the map.
Yeah, Stas seems to want to get rid of the tech of Dark, but since Dark is broke, I don't think he should mine too much. He's just gonna camp the one base that he's still mining a little bit from.
Stats still maintaining the army supply lead, as well as having a little bit of a bank to work with. Can add a few more units as needed. Most importantly, there's still 8 High Templar alive, whereas there's only 3 Infestors and 3 Vipers. The reason these units are so important is because they are Spellcasters, they're energy units. They are going to keep on regenerating energy, and they can throw out a lot of damage without having to sacrifice themselves for it. So the real kicker in this final engagement, it's going to be fungal. We're going to see what's it called? Parasitic bomb and fungal combos from the Zerg up against storm and feedback from the Protoss. So there's going to be a real micro dance in terms of how that works. And really, I think Stats has got the better army, but he's still got to close it out. And if there's one Zerg who can come back from here, I think it is Dark.
If he can land that perfect fungal from afar and keep those units in place, he's going to force another recall. Dark, in the meantime, keeps on mining. He needs to fight with those spores. There is, I think, no way to win without those. But Stats' army is looking so strong right now. He's got a lot of initiative as well. He can use Blink Stalkers to go forward, maybe snipe a couple units out of position if those Infestors ever were to be exposed. But they're going to be burrowed, that's the thing. Maybe some good revelation will help keeping these oracles, or actually, he only has 1 oracle alive. He cannot lose that one.
Stats is pushing back the creep, edging back Dark's vision little bit by little bit. He just wants to push him back carefully. Vision is so important because it allows you to position those spellcasters correctly, allows you to land those spells, but Stats has the advantage with range. His Tempest's picking away from afar. They want to focus down those Broodlords. His army rotating around, he's cornering Dark.
2 more Infestors are being made here, and they're going to come out from that hatchery that's being attacked. He cancels them at the last second and restarts them just on time on the other side. Dark, what a ninja. He actually made that happen on time. Stats the entire game was basically, by standing where he was standing, saying, Dark, you have to attack into me, because the more you wait, the worse he's gonna get for you. And Dark says, you know what? You're the one who's gonna have to attack into me, because I got your minerals, baby!
Those Stats has found some minerals in the top left of the map, and he's very slowly going to long distance mine that with a conga line of probes stretching halfway across the map to do that. I think there might actually be some Zerglings up there from Dark, which is going to shut down that last little bit of income. The fight going on. Fungals land all over the Protoss army. It's happening. Storms landing everywhere, blanketing the entire Zerg force. The Vipers disappear in an instant. The Protoss army standing strong. The Void Rays shredding the Corruptors apart, but there's still 24 Corruptors alive. The Void Ray overcharge has run out. The Stalkers warping in. The Broodlord still doing well. I think Dark might just barely have enough. It's going to come down to this air battle. 4 Void Rays versus 7 Corruptors. Who will win? It looks like there's just slightly too much. Zerg, Protoss, I can't even tell right now. It looks like at the end of that, Stats just barely holds on. GG. Stats brings it back.